that should be present?
I think Ross and Jackie just popped out to grab something off the printer.
Oh, okay.
But they're here.
Yeah.
So there are no apologies. If not, we will open the public forum. Please remember, you've got 5 minutes. Or try and restrict yourself to 5 minutes. First up, Bill Cooksley from Short Waikato and Jackie Cage Brown.
I'll go get Jackie.
Yep, sure.
So Bill's separate again.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
All right, thank you. Tēnā koutou. Through the chair, thank you very much for the opportunity to present some insights and information today during this public forum about the current trends, barriers to participation and implication for providers, whereas we endeavour and entice back or instill in a desire for our tamariki and rangatahi to undertake play, active recreational sport. And this could be particularly useful as you deliberate the Tairua Escape Park project. So what are the trends? A couple of recent publications of which I've got some copies that I will leave for the members of the board to have a look at. Produced by Sport Waikato, entitled Waikato Regional Tamariki and Waikato Regional Rangatahi Profiles. They look at the participation levels and preferences of our young people through play, active recreation and sport in the Waikato region with some interesting insights. 62% of our young people aged 5 to 11 years do enough physical activity to positively impact their health. Yet just under half don't like actually being physically active. Similarly, 95% of those aged 12 to 17 years understand why taking part in physical activity is good for them. And 8 out of 10 in this age group like being physically active, yet we are still seeing a decline in their participation. Play is an engaging in activity for enjoyment and amusement with no other objective as levels decline in New Zealand. This decline in time spent, the level of intensity and frequency of being active occurs around the age of 15, and for most this intensity will never recover across their lifetime. And 12 to 17-year-olds are the most at-risk group of any age group when it comes to embedding and maintaining physical activity in their lives. There's a lot of barriers to our participation, and young people experience both practical and personal barriers, with nearly half citing too busy as the main barrier. Additionally, the move to secondary school is often associated with having an increased emphasis on competition, leading to a decline in fun and unstructured experiences. This can lead secondary age kids to drop out of sport at this age. Not lost though, 55% of primary age kids and 72% of secondary age kids want to do more physical activity. So I guess, how do we make that happen? Partnerships need to be fostered between schools, clubs and partner organisations, including sport, health and local authority, to maximise opportunities and pathways for participation outside of school. And communities make or break the experience for this. So this, children need time, space and permission to play. We need to encourage unstructured and loosely structured play to enable our young people to have experiences beyond organised competition. And we need to let our young people play in their own terms, in their own time. Something like a skate park, easily accessible with no cost to participate, right beside an open field space, sounds like an ideal tonic to overcoming some of these participation barriers within our community and our young people. I bought some copies of the profiles, as I said before, for everyone's perusal, so we can make some more informed decisions about doing what we can to get as many people out there and active, which is our mantra. Just finally, once again, thank you for the opportunity, but I just want to make reference to one of the objections from residents noted in Ross's paper that I've read through, that the skate facility will attract more antisocial behaviour. I admit to not being an expert in this and not having actually done any formal research. However, if you were to Google anything to do with skate park and crime, you'll find that there are several papers and reports denouncing the theory that skate parks will attract more antisocial behaviour and potentially reduces youth crime and antisocial behaviour, as there is actually something for them to do in a designated area. And there was a person in Richmond, which I think is in the States, that there's a saying that if your town doesn't have a skate park, it is one. Happy to discuss anything further individually at a time that's convenient to you. As I say, on an individual basis, less informal. Thank you for your time this morning. And are there any questions?
All good. All good. It's been a hell of a lot of discussion, so no, I've got no questions.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Jackie, please. Welcome.
Kore mataka te tukumonga, ko Aotearangi toko awa, no Aotearangi ahau. Kai Tairua ahau e noho ano. Ko Felix, Ezra, Leo, toko tamariki, ko Jackie toko ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Just building on the back of what Bill has said around partnerships, I'm just here to address the partnership funding model that would be required for the skate park. As per the letter we have from the Mayor and Rob Williams, we recognise that we need a partnership model to fund the requirement. Looking at the trend across TCDC funding for Whitianga, Whangamata and projects previously in Pauanui, we can see the trend is for a 1/3 community funding ratio, and Tairua wanting to have the same equal and fairness that the others have had. That is the same that we're proposing here. So given that, we've approached a number of funding partners throughout the region, from Trust Waikato to Grassroots, Lana Foundation, NZCT, Trillion Trust, NZ Lotteries. There's a substantial list which Ross has got, which I have been in contact with, spoken with all of them, and based off that, we believe we can secure the 150,000 funding from a community aspect. That is before we go to the community and actually ask for hands in pockets. And as you can understand and appreciate, Tairua doesn't have a big resident population. So we wanted to ensure we could be able to build the funding required from those other type of funders, because the socioeconomic demographic of Tairua, while there is some more affluent people in the community, not all permanent residents are of that nature, and we didn't want it to fall on them to be feeling like they had to be reaching into their pocket. We have, just under the radar though, launched a 1K club, which would allow families to join together and put $1,000 in. For some families that might be just one family that could do $1,000, and there's a few people with me today who said they would do that, but for other families it might be more the grandparents, auntie, uncle, and kind of a combination to get to that 1K mark. And we'd like to have a 1K wall where we recognise all of the families and contributors who helped do that. We've had 12,000 pledged so far from the community, and as I said, that's all very much just under the radar at the moment. We don't want to be putting anything forward until everything is above the board and signed off. So we're quite confident that we could look to hopefully at least double that, maybe triple, and be for a 40K contribution out of people's pockets straight from the Tairua community. But it is a significant funding proposal. There's also a naming rights sponsorship proposal which we put together as the council have agreed that we could sell the naming rights to the park. We appreciate with a COVID environment that selling naming rights can be a lot harder than any other given time, and it's really going to need to be used as a marketing platform that business can activate and incorporate into their marketing mix. So but we have prepared that, and we are ready to go out and get seeking, and that's to substitute whatever the funding pool from the funders we've approached may be, needing to back up that difference. But if there's any questions around the funding program or how we will do that, then I'm happy to address them now or take them as well.
Yeah, is there a few other funds that you can go to? Like I know of a couple that probably aren't on the general funding lists. Are you continuing that process?
We've got it all mapped out at the moment. None, that is all just on hold. We haven't pressed forward and put anything. I again have the letter from the council saying that we're allowed to apply,
Yes.
and that the council will support applications. We do not have a funding entity established at this stage. The logical one would be the Tairua Rugby and Sports Club, and moving towards what Sport Waikato would like to see as a hub facility where all funding for sports is done through one. It shows a sustainable and resilient model. It means it's not a duplication of chair, admin, secretary across multiple sporting codes, so it makes a lot of sense. I think once the project is at the next stage, we'd have a bit more ammunition to have further conversation with the club to pursue that. But other clubs in the region are willing and wanting to help. Tairua Surf Club are at the moment reviewing their constitution to see about broadening theirs just for surfing and kind of board riding, which skating naturally fits into a board riding category. So there is other opportunities if the Tairua Rugby and Sports Club do not want to broaden and become an inclusive club of all sports for the region.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm aware of a lot of goodwill that's out there at the moment. It's, this has been pretty well thrashed. And there is a groundswell, so hopefully we can tap that and have a good Christmas.
Yeah, definitely. We're not wanting to launch and go public with fundraising in December. That would be when the applications tie in well. Things like Trust Waikato are not till April, but as long as we've only done the groundwork to prepare the site, we can be still applying for project costs at that stage, along with New Zealand Lotteries, Ministry of Youth, and we also have some different Māori funders across the Hauraki area, which we could be looking to apply to. But our Māori population in Tairua is a bit on the lower side, so it's not as strong for us.
Small community trust.
I've spoken to every single one of them, so I am a board member at Sport Waikato, so I have been using my connections to have a lot of phone calls, and they have been received positively. So once everything is signed up and ready to press forward, a lot of them are waiting their application to come in.
It seems incredible in this day and age that you have so much opposition against that skateball.
It does, doesn't it? And people who are willing to throw 100,000 to try and get the mayor to put it somewhere else, they could buy the naming rights for 100,000 and actually have their name proudly associated with something in the community, rather than being the ones who are known to try and reduce the possibility of having activity for our community in an area. It just seems ridiculous.
But you can't name and shame.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried to get the name for me the other day.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for Jackie?
So the only other thing I'd like to touch on with funding is that in May, when we did have sign off from the community board, there was 167,000 in the budget allocated to skate park. In June, in the community and council meeting, the community board said that the park project was not moving forward. It was documented in resolution in May that it was, and as a result, our funding was removed, dropping it down to 50,000. So, I mean, one of the things for funding is to actually for the councillors and the community board to step up and say, actually, yes, the money was there, the resolution was there, the funds need to be returned. And as I said, this community is ready to raise a third of it. We've got it ready, we've got it lined up. So we just need the community board and council to commit to that 2/3 component, and we'll be ready to press play in February and get the skate park finished.
Yeah, I was involved in that money talk, and I was under the impression that I said, don't spend any more than 50,000 at this stage, knowing that in the wind was possible further litigation. So I said, don't spend any more than 50,000 on this.
Okay, I did listen
and
to
I
the
was
recording.
aware, as far as I was aware, the balance was to be retained.
Okay, so the recording that we've viewed looked to be that the budget was removed. So if it has been retained, that's fantastic, because we can be pulling that and funding for the Pauanui one. There's no tenders were received, and pulling those funds together and actually having a substantial chunk of the funds ready to roll straight away. So that would be, if we can have a resolution around the funding element, that's pretty from council, that would be
We have a clarification on that?
Yeah, so through the, I can jump in with that. So the budget was reduced in the current financial year from that 164 to the 50,000. Council can't commit to the funding for next year until it goes through that process in the long-term plan. So they can't say now that they're committing to the funding next year.
So it was removed though, wasn't it?
It was cut from, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it was cut.
It was cut from 164 down to the 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying, that 4 weeks prior, it was actually within this resolution saying yes to proceed, and then the same community board turned around and said, no, cut it, we're not ready to proceed. So there seems to be a contradiction going on there with what was resolved here instead and sorted, and then 4 weeks later, no, please reduce it to 50 grand. I mean, what more than a resolution and a readiness to move forward to then turn around and have it reduced 4 weeks later? It doesn't seem fair for Tairua to be missing out on something again when you look around at the beautiful parks and facilities here in Pauanui.
Yeah.
We're the poor cousin. When is it our turn to step up and have some new parks and infrastructure facilities for our tamariki that are over here for a way less permanent population here? I mean, our kids live there permanently, we even have a school. We don't have that here, and yet our funding just gets taken. So we're just looking for equity, really.
Yes.
I hear what you're saying. I suppose the point on that, not to get into too much, and I'm Bruce Hinson, I'm the Group Manager for Operations, sorry, I should introduce myself. I suppose what happened at that council meeting was the council didn't cut it and say, look, we're not having anything there. It was a $50,000, which signifies they want to keep moving forwards on it, but they didn't feel they could commit the 164 at that time for this financial year. So it wasn't a let's take away everything and just stop the project. It was let's keep it moving, but we think that things are moving a bit slower and that we have to cut it to the 50 from the 164. Now I'm kind of paraphrasing and trying to speak on behalf of the elected members a little bit, which I probably shouldn't do, but yeah, I don't know if Terry wants to comment on that.
Yeah, when we went through the budget, we had to cut, obviously for the COVID budget year, extensively across all the cost centres. So we left 50 grand in there because we knew the project, while it was hot to go, there was still not a certainty around the community board and the structure, and we were going with people offering 100 grand on the side and saying this is the way to go on that. So that's what we're here today, to resolve and move forward. So I think the question is, if you get the go-ahead, go for fundraising, for sure, and we'll certainly look for the money to make sure it comes back into the project, into the next long-term plan, which is 2021.
So we want the project to kick off in this financial year, being a February, March dig date. The funds are there to do that, and I don't see it needs to go back into a 10-year long-term plan that's been approved previously. Resolution in May for it to proceed, to then go back for a further thing. The planning and what that's been done so far with Ross and the design, we're ready to go. We've got our funding lined up ready, so we need a commitment from the community board to say, yes, we will fund 2/3 of it, because that is what happens fairly across the rest of the peninsula, and we will go and make that funding. I can't start putting in funding applications and requesting funds when I don't have council or community board sign off. We do have Mayor Sandra and Rob Williams' support and letter of support saying that, yes, you can go get the funding.
Lots of letters of support.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're just waiting, because as I say, I've got the application always ready to go, but I cannot do it until I've got the sign off saying yes. Because if we go and gather in 150,000 and the community board turns around and says, oh no, we're only going to give you 50, well, we can't get that. So we need that commitment firstly from community board and council, and then we will go and get everything ticked off that we require.
I'm listening to you, but yeah, but you've got to get your funding, we've got to get this thing over the line. So that's good, our meeting today, and that's a shotgun for you to go and do your thing. We can look at where the money comes from.
Through the chair, may I ask one question?
Please.
So I know that there is a possibility for the council to find funding. At the council meeting where this group spoke, following that presentation on the skate park, there was a decision made to spend 268,000, I think, on an overspend on a budget for the Pauanui boat ramp and wharf project. That was unbudgeted expenditure. It did not have to go through the 10-year plan, and it's work that's not even going to proceed until after Easter. So my question really to the board is, can you not find that funding? If you can find it for an overspend on a project that won't even be worked on until after Easter, and we've got a company that's booked and ready to start work, we've got a community that is finding you at least a third of the money, why can't we find that funding to get this across the line without going through the consultation process that's involved in a 10-year plan.
And a project that's going to benefit our tamariki and keep them active, rather than, I'm sorry, but the voting community who use the walk, and not the tamariki or rangitera, who need to be active. Yeah.
Warwick, are you saying that an out of budget spending a request like Royal Valley Point, that should apply to the skate park?
100%, because there are questions around how that decision was made with COVID, given that the board had actually passed a resolution.
So through the chair, there's no questions around how the decision was made. So council ultimately has the final say on the budget. So council can make any decision it wants. It can take into account the community board resolutions that the community board wanted it to move forward. But council at the end of the day has ultimate control over the budget. So council can make that decision. They made that decision as part of the annual plan process. They hung on to the $50,000 because they do see it as a project that they want to keep moving forwards on. But the project you're referencing, Alison, which is the Royal Valley Point project, that was an existing project that was already underway. And so that's why that budget was approved through council. Now, council can make any decisions they want around, let's go and find $200,000, $500,000 and put it in place today. But it's unlikely they're going to do that in the current environment, I would say. So I think, as Terry mentioned, we've got a report on the board agenda today that the board needs to go through that and work through that paper and then move forward from there. And, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, how it goes with the board, that will give you the certainty to move forwards. So totally understand the frustration in the process.
Because the reallocation of that funding to our project and the shifting of the walk project into the next financial year would pretty much allow us to continue. So I think that's what you're saying, isn't it? Yeah.
So that'd be something council would have to work through.
So could this board provide some sort of resolution to go to council to seek that? So
We'll work on that.
Yes.
We'll do it. I think
Council's
we've
already given a letter.
Okay, moving on, please. Are there any, Kim, you registered, you in?
Good morning, my name is Kim Cox-Smith. I'm part of the Pauanui Community Office, which is the Right Things Association. I just want to bring a couple of things to your attention, please. First of all, for quite some time we've been concerned with both Thames-Coromandel Lane exit and Greenview Road coming out onto the state highway that comes into Pauanui. Into Road, sorry. Basically, obviously it's a 70 km/h zone, but the way that the two roads angle, it's quite difficult in particular to get out of Greenview Road, which is the road into the transfer station. And what it is there's a curve on the left-hand side of the road, on the eastern side of the road, that basically means if you've got a long vehicle, you've got to pull right out into the road to turn left to avoid driving over the curb. And it's a similar sort of thing with Penny Lane as well. The traffic coming in obviously doesn't abide by the speed limit, but we see there's a really quick, easy fix, which won't take much, and basically if we could request to have the vegetation on the western side of the road or southwestern side of the road cut right back in order to improve the sight line. And if that doesn't work, then obviously if we could look at some sort of remedial roading work, but it is, I personally drive a van and a big trailer, and coming out of Greenview Road with a trailer on the back, I have almost been, I've probably had 5 or 6 near misses because people hit the blind corner, you can't see, there's a great big hedge. I mean, the hedge is lovely because obviously it hides the transfer station, but it's really dangerous. So if we could ask that some of that vegetation be cut back really hard, and if that doesn't improve the sight line, then perhaps we could look at just angling the junction of the road slightly to the left, you know, like I don't know, whatever it would be, the proper roading term, to basically so that you don't actually have to pull out straight. You can acute angle to get onto the road. Okay. The next thing I'd like to bring up is the Pauanui proposed Hogan Path Walkway and Dune Zone Extension, which is item 2.1 on the agenda. The suggested resolution is that the Tairua Pauanui Community Board receives the proposed Hogan Path, and the second one is to approve the proposed walkway design and Dune Zone Extension along the coastal reserve fronting properties between Bonanza and Champion Place. We applaud the fact that council are really looking seriously at the significant amount of erosion that we have now on our beachfront. I don't think a lot of people actually realise how dire it has become. But one thing we are very concerned with is the fact that Jamie emailed our community office on the 12th of October, and his email stated that there would be, after discussion with property owners in the area, there'd be a hog-and-style path along the grass reserve near the top of the dune, parallel to the sea. Looking at the proposed plan, the representation of this virtually shows that the complete dune is the complete grassy esplanade would be totally planted out.
No, so that position is to be agreed upon.
Right.
So we just put it there as an extreme example of what
Okay.
the ideal situation is, but.
Right. Because this was proposed, basically the plant out of the esplanade was proposed to the community about 4 or 5 years ago, and at that stage it was rejected. Obviously at that stage we didn't have the erosion, but basically that grassy esplanade is quite critical for green space in terms of people playing games and that sort of jazz. The fact that if the path did go right back here, obviously Jane, that's not necessarily what's going to happen. People walk along the top of the dunes to see the water. Right back here, you can't see the water. Yes, that's a nice thing to have, and maybe that's not so practical, but in reality, that's what it does. And the other thing is that it would basically mean that, the other point was that it says that this would be extended 20 or 30 metres every year. The esplanade is about 2 kilometres long. So that means it would actually take an awfully long time to actually have that all the way along. So we would really urge that in January we have a market day, and obviously we canvass a lot of our non-resident population in January. We'd really like to put a proposal like this out to the wider community for their feedback. And the other thing is the fact that it's 2.5 metres wide. If it was only planted on one side, which is the proposal, we feel that the path maybe didn't need to be quite that wide, because it would mean that bicycles, for example, could go onto the grass and back onto the path, which obviously will be more cost effective. So yeah, we're just concerned that the fact that this picture shows that basically there is no grass left is what we feel wouldn't be appropriate for our community. We'll have more ongoing discussions with you, but it obviously says that the proposed walkway be the resolution be accepted. We would be very worried to accept something that looked like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any further speakers in the public forum? There being none, can I have a mover and seconder, please? For the public forum, all in favour?
Aye.
Two, carried. Item 1.4, your item's not on the agenda. There being none. 1.5, conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest? There being none. 1.6, minutes of confirmation.
Happy to move.
Thank you. Second.
Was any alterations to that, those minutes? Was there something that was changed?
Since then,
A little bit of,
A couple of spoons.
apologies.
Mover and mover.
Happy to move that.
all in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. 2.1. Proposed Hogan Path. Can we have a move and seconder, please?
Yeah, I'll move.
Second. Yep. Thank you. Discussion? Randy?
Well, I think that we've just had that discussion from the public forum. So obviously there's some more discussion to have.
Jamie did have a presentation, but we're unable to view it here just because we don't have the technology. So they may be trying to source some hard copies for us to look
Have you gone
at.
somewhere?
Yeah, shot out.
It's all right, Bruce has got to go.
Just like Paul's.
They're just gonna get it.
That's what I pick up. No, he didn't. Obviously, there was an audio visual.
Some of these things are hilarious, isn't it? And the spending says,
That would be because we will increase it, we will see it on the screen. His presentation is a bit.
Morning.
Good morning. Fortunately, I thought, this was my first community board meeting, and I didn't realise I couldn't use a
Over here.
screen for a presentation. So Tanya's just printing out some of the, printing out the presentation for us to look at. So you'll have the one pager plan on that proposal booklet. Do you have it?
Yep.
Accessible?
Yep.
So that's pretty much the guts of it. So the current situation now is there's a grass reserve goes all the way to the top of the dune, and especially in the southern section of Pauanui, it's just grass and there's no dune plants left due to this year's erosion. And so when we're considering future erosion, there's nothing to rebuild the dune back. There's no native plants there. So this proposal has got sort of two things associated with it. It's bringing the dune plants back to an agreed sort of line along that grass reserve. It might be halfway, it might be 3/4, it might be a third. It's up to us to decide. So ideally we bring it back halfway or something like that, and replant with native dune plants, and then put a hog path landing over that. And that hog path will not only provide buffer for weeds and grass against those dune plant areas, but it will also provide better access along the currently sandy grass reserve we currently ride a bike or people with wheelchairs have hindered access.
The people live off the sand used to go down on the beach, like walk out of their backs and straight over the edge and on the beach.
I'm not 100% sure, but I imagine that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
beyond
And you'll be putting bollards up or.
Yeah, so the bollards will go against the hogging path, and then they'll define the access way that they have. As well as there's memorial seats scattered along the reserve, and that will also, they will remain in place in the time being, and access will also be put towards those seats.
Oh, God.
Hi. So, good morning, Jamie.
Good.
Terry Walker. Yeah, so having a look at it, you'll obviously have some discussion about how close the path can go to the edge. They obviously like the edge, but you're looking for that buffer, aren't you? That controlled managed buffer.
Yeah.
That's planted out, etc.
Yeah, more of it's a proactive approach. So it might not happen for 10 or 15 years, but if we get more erosion than what we've had this year, that goes further landward. It means we don't have to do anything. We can just keep our weeding maintenance going. But we don't, if there's dune plants there when it's eroded, they can just creep down over summer and rebuild the dune naturally. We can just have a hands-off approach. Don't have to spend too much more money.
Now the question I've got is around the path. You've got it at 2.5 metres wide, quite a substantial path.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the hogging. Is it compacted hogging, or it does because a wheelchair will go over it without any trouble?
So you know the surf club path that's been put in?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same.
And what's that hugging made of?
White limestone.
Sorry, through the chair, what's that hugging made of?
Yes, limestone.
Just purely limestone?
No.
This is the bottom.
It's a composite, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
So it goes hard.
Hardens, yeah.
Has it got clay in it?
I don't think so.
Has it got metal in
I don't think
it? So it's just pure limestone?
so. If you look at the surf,
I think it's a composite, isn't it?
yeah, it's a composite of limestone, but I'm not 100% sure. Probably make up of that
I
material.
think the line makes it go harder.
Yeah.
Is it the same product that's used down Napier and Hastings along their tracks and trails now?
But it's the same as the certified path.
The one you put in by the certified, it's excellent, absolutely superb. The only thing I've got against putting this path so wide is that you'll encourage bicycle. And that's, you don't get too many now. I mean, pretty hard. I cycle along the top and it's pretty hard to do. You'll get more and more.
So you're one of those handles.
I'm one of those panels. You'll get a lot of bikes going there.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, not really in the, that's, thank you to keep you fit.
It'll take the cycle traffic, right?
Oh, it'll take it, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll just be a lot more.
I guess that's why we've gone, as proposed to 1.5 metres.
Yeah.
Because I guess with 2 metres, if there is a bike, it's a little bit limited, a little bit unsafe. Maybe if it's,
Yes, the cat's too busy to obviously.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you're going to have probably disability scooters down there, yeah. Kids and pushchairs, that type of thing, and then bikes. Just don't be a bit aware of it.
Any idea of cost per metre?
It's at 2 metres, it's $113 a metre.
$113.
Yeah.
Including GST or?
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah, sorry, I was, yeah, I need to know.
No, it's in this, it's in here.
But it can be done over time, though, right?
All right.
Can be done over time.
Yes.
You're going to do it in 5 minutes, are you?
No, so the way, the reason that we've said in the report that we have to do it in 20 to 40 metre blocks is because of the amount of plants we can get.
Yeah.
So at any given year, you can get 10,000 or more than that.
It depends. At this stage, we're working on actually sourcing more plants as well. So the more plants we can get, the more we can do at a time.
What sort of plant, through the chair, what sort of plants are you using? What sort of native plants? Pinal or marron or?
So marron is actually not native. It's a bit of an old school misconception about the planting. So we'll be using Noviclubrush, Mulumbekia, as well as Spinifex and Pinal.
They use Mulumbekia down at Ferrotata, great advantage.
Yes, yes. And it's a wonderful plant that works really well in conjunction with the Noviclubrush, and it actually creates a natural hedge as well.
Yeah.
That protects it.
It also gets nice long things that bind with sand too.
Yes, yes. So for that we have the Spinifex and the Pinal, which is absolutely crucial for the front part of the dunes.
Just one last one, just quickly. It's good, all good, no problem with it. The problem you got is the distance from the edge of the, how far you can push it forward towards the sea. There's people in wheelchairs that are talking about wanting to look out at the sea, and you're trying to protect it. So that's going to be the discussion here about that distance. I think that's the key.
Yeah, and this kind of ties into the shoreline management plans where we're looking at hazard lines and how, the short to medium term options of protecting reserve or houses. Planting dunes is the most cost effective way of doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not only currently, it's future protection.
That's also natural too, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. And it's used to the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement and the RMA.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
first port of call for keeping the natural character of the coast.
Jamie, I heard in the public forum, the presentation, and they were saying that they wanted more dialogue with the community over the path going right along the beach.
Yes.
So will you be doing that? I know that you've got Bob Renton as community rep on the shoreline management group and the Barry as well. So, that would be good. From having lived here before, that people do use that grass stretch to gather together.
Yeah, I guess we were approached by Mark Peacock, who lives at it's to the right of access 10. He's on the beachfront anyway.
Yeah.
And he approached us and said, like, this is something that him and his neighbours are really keen on. And so we thought, If this was our pilot area and people saw the benefits to it, then the buying would be across the reserve over time as a
Yeah.
long-term strategy.
I think it's also important to note that, yes, it is great having that grass strip, but many parts of that grass strip actually becomes unusable and inaccessible as well. We have quite a lot of issues with sand blowing over, making it really hard to walk. So people with strollers and wheelchairs can't use a lot of those areas because of that natural wind blowing that is happening. And in summer, it becomes such a high traffic area that that area is really hard to manage around. And this would fix that problem as well as protect it as well.
And if you're planting Mullumbeka, that does mean that it guides people towards the access ways because you can't cross Mullumbeka.
Through the chair,
Yes.
is there a cost for this?
Well, just here, it's $1.13.
No, for the project.
Oh, you mean overall the project?
Yeah, there's, so I can read that out if you want. This, but however, just let me say that this has been allocated as part of the long-term plan budget, so it's part of our restoration budget. So the total cost was 1,600 square metres, which is about 150 metres either side of Bonanza Place. There's 16 grand for the restoration. Ongoing maintenance for weeding is currently covered under contract. I'm not sure what the cost of that.
Under our past contracts,
Yeah.
under our initial best plans.
Are they weeding or spraying?
So I am in the process of running volunteer community weeding bees. So it also depends on the engagement, and that's the other thing is getting the community engaged and having an active part in that. But we do have some areas we do have to spray. It's just all not manageable by hand. But once restoration is done, it does make the weed management extremely or a lot easier.
Then we've got costs for bollards, which are CapEx, that's about $7,000 for that 150 metres. And then the Hoggan's going to come to about $18,000, 150 metres. But these costs will be separated for each 20 to 40 metre block, whatever we can undertake.
That's about $60,000 deal. 16, 18 and 7?
45,000.
45.
But that's probably about 5 years.
So is that out of your own budget, is it? That's coming out of the coastline budget? Is that district funded? Is that Parks and Reserves?
I think where it's supposed to be funded from, as Jamie mentioned, it's in the long-term plan, so it's not actually approved yet. It's got to go through that process. If it's in the long-term. Okay.
But when you look at the costs for this sort of stuff, protecting the coastline and providing buffer to properties.
I think that's a great idea. I just wondered where it fitted, that's all.
What's the idea of the bollards?
Just to get people out of during plants.
So it's a aesthetically nice way to create that guidance of where people need to walk. It also protects the plants. We can eventually remove them once the plants are established, but it also keeps people on track and it encourages people to stay on the track.
I can see, once you go along this line down, I can see Tairua jumping on this one.
Well,
It'd be lovely along the estuary.
That's the hope,
Where a lot of people walk down.
And places like Matarangi.
Forget about Matarangi, I was talking about the estuary and Tairua.
I wouldn't worry about it, we'll allow you to come off it.
You shouldn't be either.
Through the chair, the Hoggan, I think that's good because it's a much more longer term product, isn't it, than what the previous bark that was scattered over one area of the South Ward. And so it'll withstand storms too, won't it?
It does require topping up, however, it is a lot more long, it lasts a lot longer, it compacts down, and it just needs the occasional top up, and it's quite easy to manage the weed as well around it. So,
and our limestone quarry is local.
There you go. So one of the big aspects of this is for me with my community outreach as well, is to get the community involved and to eco-sourcing and harvesting plant seeds. The more we can harvest and the more we can get away, the more plants we can have for the year after. So.
I can give you quite a few names of people that we know in the growing industry, because that's where my husband came out of, in the native plant areas, so really expert, and also a group that does Te planting with the courts out of Thames.
I'm actually aware of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? 2.1?
Are we approving this or are we recommending this? I don't know, it's not in the budget yet, does that been signed off?
So, sorry, when I say it's not in the budget, there'll be an existing budget that they're using this year, but we're talking about committing to longer term stuff that will obviously come up as part of long-term planning discussions, you know, the ongoing over the 5 years.
So this is a project in this budget this year?
Jamie can probably clarify this, I think.
Yeah, well,
his reaction.
We're recommending a couple of recommendations here.
You okay with that, are you, Mr. Walker?
Just making sure we get it right, that's all.
Yeah.
We've got the recommendations, resolutions.
Eileen, please.
I actually think it should be saying recommend it, the proposed walkway design.
Yeah.
So what was the question, sorry, Chair?
Well, it says approve here.
Yeah.
I was wondering it should be recommend.
So if the budget's existing and what you're approving is just the design of what we're looking at doing, then that would be a community.
The suggested resolution for us to approve.
Would be to receive the plan.
Well, I don't think we
Section
approved the
part
design because we're still having discussions on design with the local community.
We're
That's why I had a presentation this morning, so that's a bit of a
Approving the concept.
discussion on the
Move walkway at this stage.
Maybe we just recommend that
Once.
you bring it back to us once you finalise design,
Based on the community day,
based on the discussion this morning about where the park should be located.
Yeah.
And whether that affects the price or dollars, I don't know, that's up to you guys, it may affect the planting.
Yeah.
And then maybe the board would be in a place to sign it off.
So we're going to section 1 only? Part 1 only?
Yes.
Well, we could do two, we could just say we.
I think after the resolution on food.
Needs alter that in
Yeah.
reflect what you guys have
For
decided.
consultation,
Yeah.
through the
Well,
consultation.
when
Yeah,
they- when they
subject to further
Come back
consultation.
with a revised design that's suitable, then yeah.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get it right.
you know,
No,
So we don't have a draft.
talking about the community itself.
I'd say.
Okay. So we've got, Nicole has a.
I don't, actually, what are we
No, I
doing?
thought you were typing something.
No.
Well,
So
if
we're
you're
going
gonna
to alter that part 2.
You can alter part 2, because if you say approve the proposed walkway design, that's the one that Jamie's put here,
Yeah.
but
That's
you,
not.
that's not
not
what you're approving, no.
No.
No, we're only
So-
approving those first little sections and more consultation and discussion with the community. And I know that you've already got huge backing because you've had tremendous response for the planting program and the involvement, so, yeah.
So what we're trying to say here is that it needs to go back for discussion and the finalised plan, come back to the community board for sign off.
Tick off.
Yeah.
And if there's any alteration to the funding model, we'd like to know that for sure.
Do as much as you can.
Yeah,
Happy with that?
yeah, it is, like I said.
Brilliant,
it's
right,
on
it's
the-
just-
Sorry, Nicole.
Yeah,
No, you're right.
and thank you, because it's really
Right,
good.
so. All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Did we have a mover and a second?
We had a movement. Didn't we move in second at the start?
We did.
I'll move it.
Yeah, we
I'll
did.
second that.
Happy to revise that.
Okay, now that we've got some revision, can we have another mover and second for
Well, if
the
they have to
revision?
have the changes.
All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. 2.2,
Thank you, Jamie.
can we have a mover and seconder, please? 2.2. The Tairua Library site. Do we have a mover and seconder? Yep, second. Yes, thank you. Discussion?
John Muston will be joining us shortly.
Um,
Via speaker.
Right, speaker. Okay.
I've got a question rather than discussion. I see that information, it says information in this, proposed plan further down the track. Is that the information centre or what sort of?
Yes.
Is it? And that's long term, that's past the lease time? Is it, but what, 3 to 4 years to run on the lease, so I'll still be there after 4 years. Is that correct?
Well, they would have to be back up for negotiation.
So who's going to speak to this? John?
So John Muston, I'm just trying to get hold of him.
Question I have maybe is, will it have any effect if we decide to realign the boundary into the motor camp later on?
We can't do that at this point.
At this point we can't, but we may decide to later on.
The first thing to get is to get the reserve
Well,
category
it shouldn't do
changed.
because it's just going to be turning it to make it community use, which means at the moment that classification says it's for library use only.
Yeah,
So
Making this more flexible, isn't it?
yeah, so we've
don't
got to
open
get
up,
that
make it for community use.
Yeah, the whole goal of this is to try and establish a community hub,
and
which will
that's,
encompass whatever.
and that's going to go to the public through this process, so, yeah. So that's really the first step.
No,
Well,
it's
it's up
not.
to you guys, local guys, you
Can
have
we go on to the
I
next
think
item?
the idea is good.
Oh, yeah, this has been,
Yeah.
I was just waiting for John to go.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of work on it.
To the next
We can
item.
move on to the next item and come back.
2.3?
Yeah.
2.3. Can we have a move and second it, please? So move, second.
I'll second.
Terry's finger up.
7.3.
Okay, here we go. Tairua Community Skate Park.
Yep.
No.
Nah.
Can we have something more?
So I think, is Ross going to speak
Would
to
you
this?
like me to? Yeah.
I think so,
Can
yeah.
I first, perhaps I'll kick off, Ross, and thank you for your efforts and work you put in, albeit at times under some pressure.
Duress.
Okay, so I think you've done a great job.
Yeah.
And we thank you for it.
Thank you, thank you.
I hope it all turns out roses and sweet smelling,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, okay, thank you for that. Right, so you've got the report in front of you. Basically it gives a bit of a summary of the project to date, some of the budget issues that were raised around that, and also some of the feedback following the board's resolution in May with the community adjoining residents, which some of the Warwick were there, and so was Terry. So basically the bulk of the report is to discuss some of the funding shortfalls and for the board to have a look at the latest design. So the design's changed somewhat in location from what was originally looked at in terms of the northwest corner of the park. It's now been shifted further away from Hornsey Road to where the current fitness equipment is located, in front of the tennis courts. There the land's very flat. There is a water table that's quite high there, so that does impact how you design this thing. And basically, there is a little bit of it's quite tight. So there's a dead ball line as well that we need to make sure we do encroach on the rugby club, so that the extent of the park does not go any further forward than the existing fitness equipment area. So basically the costs, we had this design informed by Asset from Hamilton, and they had a look at it and managed to include what the skating community were after, basically for a very, it's a good quality facility. It will be well used, and it's what basically the users have asked for. The cost of the actual works will be $350 for the concrete. There will need to be another additional $100,000 probably for landscaping, which is quite important. And there is quite a lot of room to landscape the proposal and bring some of the earth up to the top edge of where the concrete is and plant it out. There's also a proposed pocket park as well for seating and rubbish and other things like that. So that you can see that on the attachments. There's also obviously a list that the community have put together for their proposed funding of the shortfall, whatever that shortfall may be. But you can see there's quite a lot of work down there with options for using fundraising for the proposal.
Yeah. How confident are you with this certificate of compliance? How confident is council in getting this through? Approved?
Highly confident.
Highly. Great. Okay.
I'm still dubious of, but I mean, there's going to be a lot of fucking. I don't care. I'll quite happily take the pass on the shoulder. But
So what
I don't want to see the bloody thing lost.
Yeah.
Because we were overconfident.
Yeah, so what we've got to bear in mind is there are some fairly clear stipulated rules in the district plan of what you need to meet for a criminal activity. We've got a draft certificate of compliance put together which ticks all those boxes. Now there's the district plan and then there's people's livelihoods and that sort of thing. So you got to keep them separately to a degree. What the district plan is doing is it's saying, in this area, it's a sporting area, these are the anticipated adverse effects. If you do these sorts of activities here, we anticipate that this is what's expected in that zone. So the certificate of compliance goes through various rules and say, does it meet this, does it meet this, does it meet this, and it ticks all the boxes. The application in, there'll be a 20 working day process with the planners.
This is before it goes public.
No, so I'd like to put it to the board, and it's up to you, but I'd like to put this out in November to the community.
Yep, definitely.
So, because the longer these things wait, the worse it gets.
That's
you know,
right.
people are, where's it going, and you really need to let them know what's happening. So what we'd probably do is put it out there and say, look, this is subject to some good compliance where we are confident it's an activity. And if it comes back at the end of the month and it's not, then that's back for the board to say, well, do you go through a resource consent? I think at that point, probably it's, it needs another thorough look at.
Okay, well, we've got some money in your purse to cover litigation.
So there could be some litigation, but you've got to ask the question, where is that going to come from? I mean, we know kind of the community will go through that process, and there's litigation under the RMA. So the certificate of compliance will reduce that risk under the RMA. There might be some litigation under a process that councils carry out. So that process is under the Local Government Act. And the Local Government Act says, well, when you go out to the community on anything, you go through an annual planning and a long-term planning process. Has that process been followed or not? Yes or no? And it has. So.
And it has been, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Ross, for the explanation, and I think the certificate of compliance is the key to this.
Yeah.
And that will put a stamp in the ground, and we haven't seen these other people's money yet, let's just talk best. But I just go back to Sam Marshall's report, and they're very clear then that Corey Park is the right place.
Yep.
The designation is now in place to do it there. It meets those requirements. It's a community need and want, and I don't want to see deep pockets overpower the community's needs. And that's why I need this board today to be united in what we do forward, because it'll be cut and divide if they will try and do. We need to have a strong mandate today to give the people of the community say that what we're going to do is what we're going to do.
And Ross, I've got one question through the chair. The noise assessment. Are you going to get somebody in to do that noise around getting the code of compliance and who? Because I know my experience of I've elsewhere on the South Board, 2 different noise consultants saying 2 different opinions and couldn't agree and cost lots of money because they couldn't agree.
So under the district plan rules as it stands, the current zoning is recreation active.
Yes.
And under the zone rules of recreation active, noise controls do not apply for certain activities, including skate parks. So the same, yeah. So that's basically avoided that issue. There have been other areas, other skate parks, which are on different zone, and therefore have to go and have a look at the noise effects. So that's what we're putting into the certificate of compliance.
Right. And given that it's probably got the same noise level as the rugby team and cricket team or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean that's the whole point of the zone, is that you anticipate a sporting activity in that area.
So the zone is quite clear.
Yes.
That's the place to go.
One of the things I've noticed with skateboards around, well, Auckland and Waikato to a degree, you don't have lighting at night, so the kids can't get out there, and that's very important that you don't have it. That makes them go away when it goes down.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen.
Yeah, there's no proposal for lighting gaps.
There's already lighting
pretty
there
well
anyway. There's lighting there already with the cricket and the rugby. Yes.
That's all right. Move on.
I'm guessing that half the problems that we anticipated have arisen.
Yeah.
Through the chair, can I ask one question? Sorry, just to clarify, you're saying that the code of certificate of
Yep,
code,
compliance, yeah.
does that need to be submitted before we go to community?
No, that needs to be submitted, yes, so it'll go after this meeting today, it'll go out, I'll go back and do it, finish it and submit it. So that's, yeah.
Is that pretty much ready to go?
It's all
So
ready.
through the chair, we'll get an email from you saying it's been done.
Yes, yep.
And the public consultation will follow
Yeah, so it'll be for this month.
ASP.
Yeah, and the angle will be that, hey, this is the proposal, you know, here's the landscaping, what do you think? And, you know, it's not this is a, you know, should we do it or not, it'll be, this is the design, they've got any comments, how.
This is the deal.
Yeah.
I think the big thing to remember is we need the pro people to put their hand up too and say, this is what we want.
Yeah.
Not just the negative people, because they'll sit back and look at all the submissions. And if you come almost down to a one for one, doesn't it?
There's actually
You've
about
got to make
3
sure there's plenty of
groups.
noise made. People want it, you know.
Yeah, there's 3 different groups.
Can I, again, through the chair, just ask a question? We do have the petition with over 1,000 signatures signed.
Yes.
Is that not pro enough, or do we need to go and repeat that
I
process?
think you need to actually put submissions in, don't you?
I've actually
Yeah.
been through that submission.
Just
So
on
what
their
I'm gonna do is
application, yeah,
the
I
support
think
here.
it won't be a submission process. We're not asking for submissions, as such. It'll be a discussion with surrounding residents about, you know, how best to design it to.
Yes, just before we put it through the chair for the meeting, I'd just like to mention that we haven't actually seen anybody in opposition come to the board meeting to discuss that.
Yes, one couple that they did.
You look at those, it's pretty
Yes.
obvious.
Okay.
Doesn't show that strong opposition.
No,
We're ready to go.
yeah, we
Okay.
need to go. We'll do it.
Number 5. Part 5. You want?
1 to 5.
Oh, yes, sorry.
5.
Sandra did say when at a meeting was recently that if we didn't make a decision, she would make it. So we better make a decision.
Right, well, we've
Through the chair, I believe we need to make the decision. Under the Local Government Act, we need to make proper decisions and get it moving.
We've heard the discussion. Put it, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carry. Go home. You got hold of John here? Go home.
0
there was a resolution on
Yeah.
Ross's piece around the council funding 2/3 of the project, so.
That includes
that.
section 5, section 5, yes.
Section 5.
So,
Fantastic.
They then council 300,000, you 150,
Right.
and we don't know what's going to come from the public for more.
Yep.
Okay, little fairies might pop
All
up.
right, okay.
so through the chair, not to kind of be the negative one, but so that last one, as you correctly pointed out, resolution 5 has got to go to council to request that out of cycle budget. So council might not approve that out of cycle budget. That's their decision about whether they do or don't. They've got a lot of other things they're considering is to tell you across the whole district, financial situation and all that kind of stuff. So don't.
Will we be informed when that meeting will be?
So it will go as part of the minutes. The Tairua Pauanui community board minutes will go up to the next council meeting. So that's a December meeting, I think.
And Gary will represent you through that.
So that'll be at the December meeting. So it will go through as part of the minutes.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Through the chair, could I say
Not
something?
easy peasy.
I really feel what, you know, I've been here a year and I've seen what's gone on the last 4 years, and we keep having our budget for anything here eroded and changed all the time. I think the toilet, you know, I think that, you know, we need to consider what us in the South Eastern Ward want.
So through the chair, I don't know about any toilet budget being eroded, and I'm not the one who makes the decision. So it's a council decision in December about whether they go with the board's recommendation on point 5. So just need to be aware of that.
That's on the 8th of December.
8th of December.
Right. Have we got hold of John Muston yet?
Yes, John is here.
Okay, we're going back to 2.2. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mona.
Can you hear us, John?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
No, that's okay.
We can see you. Okay, now we have a move and a second. We did have
Sorry, we're back on
2.2.
2.2.
We'll go move.
First up, thank you, John, for your work on our behalf.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
So we've moved and seconded. We're open for discussion. Would you like to lead off, John?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, 2.2, is that the library one or is that the water supply?
Yes.
The library? Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So after your last meeting, Mr. Chairman, which I attended, there was you passed a resolution sort of promoting the library site as the site for the location for the Heritage Centre. So the next step in that process is to reclassify the land from local purpose library reserve to local purpose information library and heritage reserve. So what happens then if you make that recommendation to council and council adopts it on the 6th of December is that an ad will be placed in the local RAG advertising council's intention to do that. So it invites submissions and objections from the public, and in due course that'll be heard. Because it's December, unfortunately the Act will extends the 1 month usual period, so it won't come back until February or March even, depending on the timing of the council meetings. And then you'll hear, I've suggested there in the third recommendation that the council delegate to the board to actually hear any submissions or objections, and at that point you'll make a recommendation to the council once you've heard them, and then, well, it'll either be a yes or a no. Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
I've got one on part 2 of the resolution. It says will allow co-location with the information centre and library to create an information hub. It should be a community hub. Word information, it should have been community hub.
That's fine, Mr. Chairman. Yep.
Okay. That clarifies it.
I think it's a good move we're doing here, and it's going to open up more general facilities to do what we want to do. I think it's, I support this. Good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, John.
And just down the line, we just jump to Redbridge.
Oh,
What is it like?
Well, hang on, I'll just put that We've moved and seconded. Put it to a vote. All in favour?
Aye.
Yes? Carried, thank you.
And just made that alteration.
Yes, subject to that real information being changed. So we're going to jump to, where we go?
That's John's next item, 4.1.
4.1, Redbridge Road. Oh, yeah. Can we move and second, please?
Yeah.
Seconder?
Yeah, how to do that?
Thank you.
Take the water.
John, you got the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the existing agreement that was entered into the prior landowner has expired, and this is one of the few fee simple properties up Redbridge Road. So our big block is a huge one that surrounds this property, but on that individual property owned by the Schmidts is a water bore which council has been extracting water from to supply water primarily to the refuse transfer station. So it's non-potable, non-drinking water, and the agreement there is in line with the WRC consent to enable extraction of 15 cubic metres in a 24-hour period. So it's pretty much the same as what we were before. Under the last agreement, the rental was $750 per annum. That's gone up to $1,000 per annum. That budget would be met by the water services infrastructure teams of council. And the owners are happy to continue the arrangement. So the recommendation before you, Mr. Chairman, is to continue to enable us to extract that
Question
water on
through the chair, if I
the
can, John. Does anybody else use that water?
It's used. It goes down and serves the parks area. It also serves as the old kitchen place there on the corner. Essentially, you've got gravity feed from there downwards. But the refuse transfer station is the biggest user.
Okay, right. And no issue over usage from WRC, how much they can draw from?
Oh, there is a limit of 15 cubic metres in a 24-hour period. That's the maximum.
That's for you, or is that for everybody?
That's for everybody.
Everybody, okay. Okay, that's all.
Yep. All good. Okay, I'll put the resolution. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I'll get you back when we go into public excluded.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Cheers, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So we go
Jumping around.
Sorry. 3.1.
3.1. Can we have a move and second, please?
3.1.
3.1. Can we have a move and second, please? 3.1.
Who's moved it?
Chris and Barry.
Oh, yes.
Leslie. Hi.
Good morning, everybody. I'll take the report as read. I just want to point out a couple of things. So this is our leases and licensing to occupy policy that we have reviewed along with the LTP. I'll just point out a couple, mostly that we've just made editorial changes and made it a little bit clearer, the policy and easier to read. The two things I think that are probably a little bit different to the last policy is that we've put in some actual criteria now to provide clarity about the requirements for eligibility for community organisations to get a remission if needed. That's come through the rates remission policy. So we want to make sure that this policy ties up language and confidence. So the new policy has been workshopped with council. We took it to council on the 6th of October, and they were okay with the draft, with what it is, and no changes were requested by them. So we brought it back through the community boards so that you're aware of the policy and the implications of the policy. So just in regards to the rates remission policy side of it, what we've done there is if or community organisations are under hardship and they want to apply for remission, they can do that, but we've just put some criteria around it so it makes it more transparent and makes it more fair, I guess, to other recipients as well, as who's going to get that. So if the property or the community board are renting properties that are owned by council, then that will come back to the community board to look at those where they put a remission in to actually grant that remission. If it's a community board that, or a community, organisation that's on different property other than council's property, well then that decision will go to the audit risk committee. That's just clarifying it and tidying it up and making it more fair and transparent for everybody in the process. Anybody got any questions? I'm happy to try and answer those.
Just one, just to clarify clearly, the two organisations are really incorporated society and trust.
Yes.
Period. Like a small group coming along that hasn't got itself organised, doesn't fit that criteria, does it?
It's like in this policy, but also in the rates remission policy, there's really strict criteria about who can apply and who cannot apply for it. So yes, they have to be a community organisation.
It's registered.
An established community organisation, yes.
Policy fit with, well with the rates submission.
Yeah, it's tidied it up, not only for people applying, but also for staff to administer.
Yes.
Yeah. Make it really clear.
Yeah, it does.
Everyone else is saying it used to be me. It's 45 points down.
Yeah.
Okay, we've heard the discussion, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Yes. Carried, thank you. Thank you very much, Donna.
You're welcome.
I'm calling you Leslie. I'm referring to this in front of me.
That's fine, yeah, I realise it. There, but Leslie's worked on this policy as well, so she deserves the credit for it.
Okay. I see his prime's ready to go up there.
Not about problems.
5.1, the work programme.
Good morning, board. So through the chair, happy to present this work programme. It's still a bit of a work in progress as we refine how we're doing this with our projects team and the rest of the infrastructure team. We're getting a little bit better each time on our comments and dates and all the rest of it. But happy to receive any feedback and happy to answer any questions.
I just got to thank you for you. That's all. Do we want to ask the question about our peppy toilets?
I do.
Yes.
I'd like to say thank you for the response, you know, when we heard it was due to third date and third reasons why it wasn't happening. And yesterday at the ratepayers meeting, the person that actually wrote a letter to council and it went, you know, to the correct procedure, she hasn't heard anything back, and it would be really nice to write back to her as well, because it's not just because she's a ratepayer, they also are involved in toilet cleaning as well, and she would like to hear back.
Who's that from?
That was from Marnie Goodman.
I'm not sure if I've seen that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think in my reply,
She's the eye.
She's the inspector.
She's the inspector.
Yeah. I said that it was important that communication that improves school life.
So did she send a letter?
She sent an email that went via email to Yoda to Ross, and reply came back.
Is that the one that you sent?
Yeah.
There was just an email.
Yeah.
It was just an email that Anne forwarded on to you, myself.
Oh, so you sent it through?
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
But it would be good for her to hear what the answer was too.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. No problem.
And I would like a clear date. I'm hoping that February is a clear date.
Well, as clear as we can give you at this stage, yeah. So I totally understand the frustration of the board and the community around the project and the moving dates. This does happen with projects from time to time, and it's not something that we ever like to be the messenger trying to pass on that information to anyone. So between Ross and I, so like I think I want to put in the email, Ross is doing his best. He's working flat out on I don't even know how many projects, lots of projects across the whole district. So he's got a lot on his plate, and so it's my job to help support Andrew and Ross in turn to make sure we deliver what we can. But we've really come up against a problem with this one around timeframes for the contractor. Working on you get like a domino effect. One project slows them down that causes issues, plus that whole issue around supply of information. All their subcontractors that supply stuff, particularly in the back of the COVID lockdown. Auckland additional lockdown they had up there that we didn't have. So unfortunately it's pushed us. We don't want to rush it and try and get it done in the middle of Christmas and end up with something half done for the peak period. So so the decision is let's hold it over, wait until after Waitangi Day and get into it ASAP after Waitangi Day. So so that was a good one on that. So happy to take more questions.
Yeah, I just want one question. That was, do we anticipate a cost overrun? Or is it locked in? Is it locked? Sort of pretty locked in, is it?
Nothing's ever locked in. On a project.
We can't hit it.
That's right. So the only risk for this one really is if there is an archaeological discovery, basically. So you can't tell until.
I was actually thinking about the building side.
The building's locked in actually.
Pricing of materials.
That's locked in. It's just our thinking of projects. There's always so many other things that can come into a project. As you know, you look at any project that gets delivered, it's very rare it comes in on budget because there's just these other things that come up. Government, home, people doing renovations at home, obviously, it's very hard to anticipate everything. So we build a contingency in. Sometimes the contingency is not enough. Sorry,
just when this budget was thrashed through some time ago now, that there's you looked at different suppliers, so there was a whole range of sort of undertaking to look at local suppliers versus what we do with them in. But the budget was really tight at the time because everyone said, oh, that much for a toilet. And so it got cranked right back to, I think we actually took out landscaper.
Yeah, you did.
So, this is the flow-on effect, and I think it's probably likely that, when you put it in there, we'll have to find some budget for landscaping. That might come out of parks and reserves or something like that. But it is a very tight budget.
Through the chair, at one stage you talked about artwork on the front of this.
Yes.
Are you still working on that?
We've got the space, we just need to go to the community for them to fund it, basically.
Yeah, because I know that some of the art community are keen to do something on that front, and that would look nice. Yep. It look like.
No, not the Tairua, thank you.
No, there's some creative people that have got creative art and they want to be involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillor.
Yes, a couple of questions. I got a speedball for this yesterday from the Tairua So the questions around this is you've got February, Waitangi Day, and then you've got the 31st of March, which is April. Is there something in between that, or we were just talking 2 months there?
Yep. What was the question, sorry?
Well, you've got here, you're saying you're going to start it after Waitangi Day, which is the 7th of February.
Yeah.
And then you've got out inside there, 31st of March.
Yep. So 2 months.
It's a
Finishing. It's
And I
finishing.
just thought it was going to come in.
It's not expected completion date, so we're saying 2 months is what we think we can do it.
So I'm a bit concerned that, and the question was raised about the budget for this because it is extending out. And we didn't put the portaloos in this year and all that kind of stuff because we went into a contingency around that. Why can't they do the dig out now for the extended pad and get the archaeologist side of that or the Heritage New Zealand side of that done and dusted? Because if we get to February and you open it up, it could be June.
Could be, yep.
Is there any opportunity around that?
Yes, see what you're saying. Certainly saying there'd be a risk around. I don't know if you really, I hear what you're saying because obviously it manages that risk. We've got time. we generally wouldn't want to open the site up until we're ready to hit it and just do it all in one go. I guess my thoughts are, if we end up going past 31st of March because of an actual clear reason around archaeology or something, I suppose it's not ideal, we don't want to go past 31st of March, but what would be the result if we did go an extra month, you know, past that?
The impacts on the funding, wouldn't it? The budget would blow out.
No, it's not, no, so it shouldn't have any change on that. If it's going to have additional costs related to
Is there any money
archaeology,
come from there?
if it's going to have additional costs related to archaeology, it will have it whether it happens then or now.
Just a
Through the chair.
It just pushes you into Easter, which is
Through
fine.
the chair.
Well, we can have a look at that, Terry, because that is an idea. I think we can. It's not my preference because, like I say, I don't want to open the site up and then leave it
You're
open.
only taking down what?
I know. Yeah,
Because he's putting a pad extension
Yeah,
in the
I
pad.
know. Yeah, you see, we've got to try and
There's some
communicate
trees to be
why
removed.
we've taken a whole load of dirt and we're not doing anything for, you know, 4 or 5 months. But leave it with us. We'll have a little think about that and consider it come next year. Because I like thinking of different ideas. So it's good, you know. That we're thinking, you know.
And through the chair, like I think it's really good that proactively we're asking Heritage New Zealand at beginning days instead of halfway through a project. But also too, looking at, and I've gone through all the archaeology reports with the Archaeological Association and New Zealand Heritage, and there's nothing for that section.
Yeah.
There is a paper for that section by 2 people at Waikato University that found all the curry slabs that are underneath from the Union Section George Dash Carra Timber Company. And so I don't know what else is under there, you're not going down that deep. You'll probably have carry. But it's no registered site that I can see. But your guys should know that.
Yeah, that's probably good a guarantee we can at this stage until we.
Will you have your archaeologists there, or will you have them there?
Yeah.
So it's had a Heritage New Zealand authority.
Yeah.
So we've gone to them saying, we're going to do this stuff, they should be authority based on some
Yes.
conditions. And the conditions say that there needs to be an archaeologist on site when work starts.
And they've got a new person in there that I think will too. And I think also, you know, I keep feeding it to Ireland because that's that proactive stuff. Because of people like Campbell or Gumley or they've already done something and it makes it pass through a lot easier. It's like what happened at one with the
Fingers crossed.
yeah, so you know, but I'm happy to share that with you guys, but you've probably got that information with council. But I'm doing it too, mainly because of being a historian.
Yes.
So.
And just the other one, we're moving on from there, we finished there with that one?
We must have.
So drinking water stands?
Oh, yeah.
So again, another question from the Ratepayers Association at Tairua was with the Christmas, the expected demand increase this year?
Yes.
And about the water, getting some sort of surety around the water supply for the town over that period?
Sure, yeah. I mean, all surety we can give is that we do what we do every year, which is do our best to manage the supply that we're getting and the demand that we're receiving from residents. Lorna and her team have done a fantastic job already of getting out a lot of information around water.
Yes.
Everyone knows it's going to be dry. Everyone's heard what's going on in Auckland as far as the situation with water up there. So we are going to be under pressure. We can't give any guarantees and say this is what it'll be like, this is what it won't be like. We're doing our best and we're really trying to work as a team.
So you got a new water intake, didn't you, that put down there?
So that was a couple of years back. Yeah.
How's that regional council consented for that?
Yep, so everything working well there. So we've got the original take at the Pepe, we've got the river dam filtration that we installed, which is the one bacteria, and we've got the little dam, the old tributary to the Pepe. Yeah, so those are our supplies for Tairua, and we just try and do our best to maximise those. I mean, it depends what weather you get. You get a bad storm, and that makes the river go really dirty, which slows down the treatment. Now, treatment shouldn't slow down as much as it has in the past. We've got the new membrane filtration plant. So again, we've got all these little things which are helping us, but nothing's a guarantee. So the new intake helped on that dirty water situation. The treatment plant, new treatment plant will help. So yeah, so fingers crossed, we're doing everything we can, and we'll just have to kind of hang in there.
And both Pauanui and Pauanui meeting we attended, and this one, and the one yesterday, Tairua Ratepayers, they're also asking if they could have support or help in some instances if people are looking at tanks.
Yep. So
Because I
we're
know
giving.
that Lorna's sending out wonderful tank information.
Yes, yeah, we've done. Laura's sending out a good job again on that around tanks and encouraging people with tanks. And, you know, having said that, tanks to sell themselves at the moment, as you probably heard, you know, there's 3-month waits on water tanks because people have, you know, they're seeing what's happening in the country, they're seeing what's happening in Auckland. They know how dry it was last year. We've had a fairly dry or very dry winter. You know, we've had a couple of dry summers and a couple of dry winters leading into this summer. So, yep, so everyone knows the.
And we've got a local tent man at Thames.
Yes.
In the marine precinct, and he's right on to it.
Yes, a lot of tanks are there. So
and he says there's enough supply coming through.
I'm sure they're all pre-sold. Who knows?
So that's an interesting one around the tanks, and there was interest again to say that the regional council's got a program for this, they're looking at, where people can take a $10,000 loan and get it over 10 years and make it pay it off. So is council thinking that way maybe, or we're just promoting it at the moment?
So through the chair council, I haven't been involved in any discussions with the councils thinking about that kind of stuff. And if the regional council were doing that, then you know they're a much bigger organisation than the TCDC. So I'd be encouraging everyone who wants to do that.
We can guide them to the tank players and help them that way would be some sort of assistance. They're all thinking about it.
Yes.
So while they're hot, it's a great something.
Like I say, Lorna's team have got stuff out there saying if you're thinking about a tank, get it done now, you know, like so they've been doing it for quite a few weeks already.
And through the chair, there is the free duty planner service that we've been encouraging people to call because that sort of keeps the information around whether they need consent or not. And there are ways that you build without people needing to get consent.
And the tank man seems to know those too. Because we just got one and he was, you know, going through all what we needed to do.
It's good business for the tank guys to know the rules around all this stuff, so
yeah.
And just a couple more, if I can carry it, move that on from that.
Yeah, that's good.
The Pauanui skate bowl, this was up for an upgrade, complete upgrade, but I see Ross has got some tweaked it a bit. You're going to grind it and you're going to build in some youth stuff.
No, we're just going to grind it at this stage because first of all, we didn't have any tenders on it because basically we had 2 meetings on site with 2 different skate park developers. They both said, oh, there's significant issues with it, and it's basically, if you're going to do it, you probably need to look at redoing the whole thing. And that was 2 separate ones, just because of the slumping and how it was built at the time of this design. So we're going to give it a fresh coating and skin, so that'll be ground back and then some sort of resurfacing on top of it. And that won't complete the budget. It'll be under the 80K that's on there. It'll be around about 2.
Okay, so the extension work is not happening at the moment.
No.
Okay, that's good.
It was a replacement, wasn't it? That's what we had to tender for. And then you didn't get any submitters or any tenders?
Yeah, but the budget really, we looked at a much bigger development of it, redevelopment of it, and that was up to 180, whatever the total budget was. They all looked at it and said, look, you know, the significant amount of work and there's slumping and there's stormwater issues, you know, you're better off looking at the whole thing again in a couple of years and redoing it.
Right.
That's what.
So it's going to be
So this
revisited.
is 60 or 80 grand that you're talking now.
Yeah.
Will be thrown away in a couple of years.
Yeah, well, that's the other issue, isn't it? So what do? You know, you either improve it what you can, because they said don't do anything. If I were you, I wouldn't do anything.
Is it dangerous now?
People are using it now.
So what's the point of spending 80 grand on this?
Well,
last 2 years?
Well, I think it's going to actually improve the usability of it over the next couple of years, and who knows what happens with council.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Might as well use the budget now up to a point. It's not overdoing it. We could have done the whole budget and wasted 80. We're going for 40, half of it.
Through the chair, I would say my advice is the same as Ross's. Carry on and do that work because you just don't know how long it might be before you get back there.
Exactly.
You're right.
Good.
And the last one was around the furniture. It says here that Derek is working around the renewal of street furniture in the community and working with the community board on this. I'm not aware of what they're doing. Is anybody aware of what they're doing?
Which one is that?
3 from the bottom.
3 from the renewals.
Working with community watches to is that what you're querying?
Well, I just didn't know what they were doing, like upgrading some furniture of.
I'm not sure. I'd have to find out, but it's $1,750. It's a very small budget, so So it is more based on a reactive, but I'll follow up with Derek and just make sure he needs to circle back to the board, then he needs to do that.
Yes, I'm really keen to get that stuff kept in good order, so obviously you've got some ideas, be good to know. Okay. Thank you.
If we go ahead and remove all this fitness equipment, where's it going to go?
No, we haven't made a decision.
Not going to come over here.
I mean, it's up to the board, I think, because, I mean, in consultation with Derek and you guys, I mean, if you've got an idea where it could go, that would be good to know. There's a couple of pieces that are actually really well worn out and I think not usable. Seats are broken and things like that. So whether it does get replaced or shifted somewhere, maybe it could go to QP.
Downside.
Yeah. I mean.
Okay. Oh, yeah, well, that's an idea. Yeah, okay. I just. Yeah, along the foreshore there by the opposite segment. Anyway, fine, okay. Any more discussion on the work program?
What's the story with the Pauanui program for jetty? So after Easter?
Yes, correct.
Because I see, somewhere I've seen, I can't find it at the moment, is that floating pontoon that they're talking about putting down there. What's happening with that? What's the story with that?
Can we leave that? Can we
leave that till in?
Later in the day? I don't know, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I don't have all the details on hand, I'll leave more about that than I do actually. So this was just around.
It's not on our work program, all right?
No.
No, it's just.
No, I was going to.
You want to turn it over and start on what?
Members report.
Yeah, members report.
Slipped in there. I was going to bring it up members report.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay. No, any further discussion on the? Oh, thank you, Bruce and Ross.
Thank you very much.
I'll put it to vote. All in favour?
Aye.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Back to work.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yes, we will.
Back to your COCs.
See in a different state.
6.1, is it?
Like New South Wales.
We go.
Do we have it for what?
For the work report.
The work program, we had a movement seconded, I thought.
Yeah.
Don't ask me who found that. Chris?
Yeah. I've been involved with everything.
Moving on to 6.1, action schedule update. Can we have a move and seconder, please?
I'll move.
Thank you.
Just to give it a bit.
Second. Nicole, this is your patch, is it?
It's not very much on there,
No.
unfortunately.
We've done that and we've got our report and we've all voted unanimously together.
Fantastic. Can't be any further discussion now. Okay, put it to vote, thank you. For, against, two, carried. Members' reports. Who wants to kick that on? Barry, you want to start on your side today? Go on, Bill.
I attended a ratepayers meeting on the last Tuesday, and quite interesting, some of it was. But other things I want to bring up is it's going to be discussed later on, I believe, is the Royal Billy Point Fishing Club. And I'm very concerned about the Royal Billy Point ramp. $250,000 is a hell of a lot of money over and above. Are they going to put fishing, ramp charges on that, user charges.
Area manager wish to speak to that? Rent charges, future rent charges?
We did pass that, didn't we, several meetings ago?
Yeah.
When Renewal was.
It's not out in the public, though, is it?
No, but it will go out when they do the, fees and charges.
It does exist elsewhere. I think we were waiting on a ramp at Paku.
Yeah.
Then we can.
No, he said it was
No,
when Royal
no.
was
No,
finished.
the resolution that you guys passed several years ago was that when Mary Beach Wharf was done and Royal Billy Point was done,
They were right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, okay.
and earlier this year. you
and it
said
will form part of the annual plan, LTP fees and charges that go at submission.
I thought we were waiting to include, at the moment, the vast majority of boats that are launched and retrieved on our side are done at Paku. And there's no way to capture that area of boating. So I understood that we were somewhere we were going to create a boat ramp, a concrete ramp at Paku. And once that was done, then we'd have everything covered. And
I think there's a desire at council to look at the cost that that's across the whole district. You pay a one fee.
I thought that was decided.
No, it's not quite there yet.
A uniform charge on all boat ramps.
And that makes sense because we've got a membership for one over the other side and it's sort of an annual thing and we can go to the fishing club and that's up to Peru and then we can go to some of the other boat ramps with all the right.
It's just been mentioned. I went to an all-in-close discussion regarding the flooding there. It's quite interesting. I think it's, I think a lot of it requires a bit of common sense and actually work. I went to a meeting, the Ratepayers meeting last week, and that was quite interesting at times, and it's amazing the different things to bring up. Terry gave an excellent talk on where the money's going, right? I think that went down very, very well, and thank you, Terry, for that. The attended a shoreline management plan meeting that we went to. That was quite interesting. Still puzzled as regards what they expect out of the what went physically and even mentally. It's still very interesting to know these things, but what they expect us to do, I don't know. I suppose that will be revealed in the fullness of time. I only in the last few days discovered about this pontoon that they're on about putting in at Royal Billy. I'm very concerned about it. I only found out about it a few days ago, but I just happened to the dementia people. I got quite an aggressive, and to me, it's a very serious thing. I can see where they're coming from. The kids are going to enjoy jumping off these things, and they've been doing that on the wharf for a few years now. But when they hear about what happened a few years ago at Wong Matar that time, who's going to be responsible for this thing at all? Are they going to be insured? I know once this gets out of the public, I'll be drawn in court, I think, by the minister. But I've got a lot of time for it. I'm not a member myself, but this thing really concerns me. Who gives them permission? Do they need permission?
They don't want to read it in council, don't they, for a consent, because they've got to have ropey things underneath, the mooring things. And I understood that they had to go there and get consent where they're going to park it in water.
So through the chair, when I found out about this, went to Andrew Bowden, and he has come back and said that the men shed are to have ownership of the contract, and they are to get all consent from WRC. And there's also, they've got to comply with the navigational safety bylaw for the harbours and everything else. So, as far as I'm aware, even though the men shed apparently at the moment are going around saying council are going to own it, council are not going to own it or have any responsibility for it. And they are to get they are to have ownership of it and get those approvals from WRC. Now, if they go ahead and put it in without WRC approvals, then it'll be up to WRC to take whatever action they need to.
And that's what they reported in the Roadhouse meeting. They said those things. And yes, Waikato Regional Council, with the mooring things, they will be supporting on it, won't they?
So, who's funding it?
They funded it themselves, and they got a $5,000 gift, they said, from council to go towards the pontoon.
I don't remember approving any $5,000 gift.
I'll leave it. I'll leave it.
So we need to find out exactly where
Who
they're
gave the $5,000?
Don't know, they said council did.
Well, I understood that, no, I don't think that's right.
No,
I
but
understood
that's
the
what
money
they said.
came privately, and they anticipated being
No, they got
refunded by
$5,000
council.
gift.
$5,000 was gifted from council.
Yeah,
for the pontoon.
yes, they said that at the meeting.
Was that from the council or?
No,
No.
it was, don't know.
From staff.
So I don't have, through the chair, I don't have all the details, but I believe it was part of that project. And as Eileen said, we need to go away and pull
Of the
together.
Billy Point project.
Yeah, we just need to go away and find all the details on that, so we can come back.
It sort of sticks in my throat a wee bit because, I mean, when we did the Tairua Wharf, we had a budget, right? And the budget was very, very strict, and we couldn't go a bloody dollar over it.
Yeah.
And here these guys are saying, well, write a check for this and write a check for that. Well, it's, I don't know, to me, it's not on.
So I think there's one thing, which is the $5,000.
Yes, it is.
So I think that's what we're talking about, not the, so.
Well, I'm hot about that other bit too, but I can't get about it.
Yeah, that's part of the project though, so that's not like staff just writing checks for.
Yeah, I know, but
so-
it's still over budget.
Yeah, well, we have talked at length about, well, Billy pointed about the project budget, so I didn't want to go back over that old ground. But understand what you guys are saying, the concern and the queries that we can't give you answers for right now. So what Eileen and I have committed to is that we'll go back.
Go back to Andrew and find out exactly where it's been.
It surely wouldn't be part of the original consent. Surely not. A
No, I wouldn't have
pontoon.
thought so, no.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No, and I think as Eileen said, that the information that has come back from the project manager is that the men's shed will need to get the
Consent.
consent.
Yeah.
So-
Yes, yeah, they said that.
No, I just find
If it's
that.
safe, it's not a bad idea. But
No, it doesn't sound a bad
it,
idea,
but it just irks me the way it sort of
It happened.
just went boom.
Understand, yeah.
Yes,
No?
I think that's the
No, that's
concern around the table, is just the knowing again, Bruce.
Yeah.
that's right.
They get the kids away from
It's a
the
bit when you
right.
find out.
Yeah, if we know, it's good because we're up with it and we can answer or
Yes.
not answer.
It was never part of the consultation. It was never in the picture.
No.
Well, it
It's
is.
just arrived.
It's a safety thing with.
I might put one in Tairua.
It's a very tight, that is a tidal, very strong tides and that has
We're
through
going to
the.
put one of the hills.
Anyway,
Okay.
We'll come back with some more
We'll come
information.
back
Yeah,
with
thank you.
finding out exactly where
It is.
what's been funded, what.
Okay, I went to the long-term plan workshop just after, stood in for Warwick, who was away on leave. And I was very disappointed that we didn't get to discuss it along our long-term plan. Did we, Terry? No. But they went right around the room, and Terry sitting there with great anticipation.
Mercury Bay.
Got to Mercury Bay, and they spent millions.
Well, they want
Piece of cake,
a lot of projects to do.
And then they, like Sandwell or somebody said, oh, well, we don't need to go any further.
Oh,
What's going to happen? So Terry and I had our own long-term plan meeting.
Good.
And we agreed to spend everything, didn't we?
So you agreed to spend all the rates that we.
Yeah, so we're quids in, our budget's fine.
Good.
While I was there, Sandra talked about this bloody skateboard park and how she had someone to fund.
No,
there.
yeah,
So that's-
I've got my thoughts on that.
That's just what she told me, right?
Yeah.
And
Stop doing stuff
I
like that.
still was of the opinion that until today that was the better option to go there, but I just want a skate park, so.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like Rocky, really, we decided, well,
Go with the flow.
we'll go with the flow but
Hold your breath.
don't let us down. Because you'll hear me shout from the bloody high stools.
I think also important that in the background.
I've had a whole raft of stuff written here about that, and that got shot to bits, but anyway, that's fine. There's plenty of money out there for these guys out there that have got plenty of money to fight this project, so it could be an expensive decision. I also went to Holland Close Flooding Group meeting on the 14th of October, and then after that I went down and looked at Holland Close, and I've come to the opinion that it just needs cleaning out, and that won't solve the flooding problem in Holland Close, but it should be enough to stop the water getting into houses. The driveway will be shut occasionally, the road will flood occasionally, but it's a cheap way out. I spoke to at the Shoreline Management Project meeting the other day. I spoke to the guy from Environment Waikato, whose name is I can't remember his name. Anyway,
Dean Allen or
Dean
Allen? Yeah.
And I talked to him about that yesterday, and I said, "What do you think about it? We just clean it out." He said, "It's a good place to start." So we are going to have to get a consent to do small bits, but we need a consent to go and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that will, I believe, will solve a big part of the problem. I went and had a look down there, and I did have some photos in my phone somewhere. There's parts of the stream that are only not that wide, and it's all vegetation that's coming. That vegetation that's hanging in the stream is actually disturbing the flow, and it's just slowing it all down. So impeding it. Yeah. So it just needs a good clean out. Is a real cheap place to start.
There's been a lot of discussion in that stream.
Yeah, but it's getting serious. I get the impression that with the meetings we've been having, about two now, that it's a little bit bureaucratic. Would that be a fair comment?
Well, so through the chair, it's local government, so there is bureaucracy and processes we have to go through. So I'd love as much as you just to be able to get out there and start, run around with the digger doing stuff. But the reality is we've got to go through the process.
But when the guy from Environment Waikato tells us, you can't, Environment Waikato, you've got to do this because it's a modified stream. It's not a natural one. Well, it's always been bloody draining that swamp there somewhere. It just blows me away. But anyway, it's been about 50 years now. Yeah. It's I think that's the cheap place to start. And then, like Barry, on last Friday we went on a tour of the area with the Shoreline Management Project, and it was quite interesting. We sort of had, by the time we got up to the scene again, we sort of had to skip along pretty quick because lunch was due at 1 o'clock. But anyway, we stopped and had a look at Renewal, several of the little problems. We came up here to Pauanui and looked at the erosion on the beach, and we discussed the Holland closely. And then we went over to Tairua and we looked at the Pepe Reserve and went down on the beach and looked at the way the sand is building up again after the last lot of erosion. And that's about it really. We've got another meeting later in the month, I believe. So we'll see. Like Barry said, we're not sure what the final outcome of this thing will be, but I suspect at some stage we'll set down some guidelines for what people can do on the coast.
Trigger points.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where it'll be. I hope it's not all just for nothing, just for a lot of steam.
It's big steam.
It's taken a lot of time, it's taken a lot of air time.
But it's taken a lot of time.
So, anyway, that's kind of my month.
Okay, I just want to elaborate a little bit on what Chris said around our bottom close. And this is a question I know Bruce would like to hear, but if that drain could become a council asset rather than just a regional council asset would be great. I know it's probably difficult because they're not terming it as a stream, they're terming it as a man-made ditch. But I agree with what Chris is saying, just open it up, the understanding it will flood, as long as there's an inundation. I think that people would live with that, as opposed to some of the discussion moving into a really high-cost area and issues, and just wondered if that would be a great first approach. So I agree with that. This is a good starting point. Whether it's regional council saying it needs a consent because it's a drain, but if it was a natural river, they wouldn't. I couldn't understand that logic. But I don't know. It's a discussion, obviously. But clearing the stream to make it flow a lot better and letting the water move to areas which they can accept and not areas where they can't accept seems to be a logical approach. We'll see. Mine one's really, I just want to recap and it's work that the public communications people have done and provide me, so it's very good. So just around tourism, if you've been to the road pays meeting, you'll hear this again, so I apologise for that. So they reckon the numbers were up for the late week, they're up 30%, and they reckon they're going to grow this year for the town. There could be up to 30% more people in town. So this is pushing straight away stress on those one-way bridges. And we had a very strong meeting yesterday where Scott Simpson was involved, and we had the big chair, Warwick there, and talking about doing something about this. So there is a little bit of a plan being forged ahead to try and make some mileage on this, and you will hear from those people about that as it comes forward. The magazine, the council produced a magazine. Some of you seen it? No one's seen it? I've seen it, part of the magazine. Get that magazine out, 50 cents it's cost per ratepayer, which is bugger all for all the efforts put into it. Really good asset to have and a real good thing to have spread around the neighbourhood. SMPs have heard from a man who's been on the shoreline panels. That's great. They talked about some of the numbers around if you did a rock seawall at 80 metres long, it would be $760,000. If you did geotech bags, $500,000. A backstop wall, $490,000, a naturalistic concrete, $1.1 million, this is just for 80 metres, and a temporary groin, $320,000 with some sand push-ups, which seem to be the flavour of this way, $1,000 to $4,000. So that and planting seems to be a direction that they're heading. But we'll find out after you guys will respond. And I think the other big project that came up was water, and there was a map put around where all the hot spots are around the country, and this is one of them. So I expect a drier than normal summer, and they've got figures here that says an average of 13 million litres of water per day is what the average is here. So it rises to 25 million litres per day over the Christmas period. So water harvesting is the buzzword at the moment, and asking people to step out there. There was the comment, well, we put our tanks in, what does that do for other people? Don't, but I'm just saying do it, because then you can water your gardens and do things without the native complaining. There. Carry on. I think the other big one that came up was solid waste and curbside. Really big issue, this one. And there's a lot of focus from people about talking about what's going to happen. The bag price is going to go up, and solid waste is going to be concerning, and they're worried about transfer stations and all these things. So I think council needs to be aware of the communication around that. It's a strong subject. A long-term plan, we talked about that, tightening the belts and how we generate more forms of revenue, looking at areas we can change levels of service. These will all come up through the council and from the community board. And then we're going out to pre-consultation early November, which we finalised the council meeting on, that was last week. So the last one to finish off, we talked about the Natural Built and Environmental Act that came out, 531 pages the government's looking at. And will this supersede the RMA? I thought it would, but Scott Simpson reckons it won't. It might help part of it, but he still thinks that it'll still be part of the world that we live in. And the last one was the $100,000 pledge through the mayor came and told us about the skate park. I felt that was a bit of a bribe. I didn't feel comfortable about somebody coming up and doing that. Putting the money into a plaque on the Quarry Park would be a far more sensible thing to do. And now it was good to hear that the Mayor and CE are supporting the Quarry Park. If I heard that right today at a meeting, so we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Just before you start, Anne, we're going to start for our lunch break at the conclusion of the members' report. All right?
Yep. Okay, Tairua Heritage Society, Warwick was away, and I think Eileen, you had something to say on the other red. But they, still working towards fundraising. They did a really good raffle at Labour Weekend, and they're continuing work on the heritage panels and old Tairua Cemetery Records booklet, and they applied to us for funding for those. And I suggested to them that they wait till John Muston's report and what happens this month. And, like at this stage, I don't see that the heritage group should be in there putting their tuppence until we've done step one. That's important. Kopu Marine Precinct, and you will say, what's that to do with us? But I got put on that because of previous representation, and what's it got to do with us? Most of the trucking firms have got their depots there, and our tanks, our water tanks there, Kopu, where you buy the water tanks from. So our trucks are coming over constantly, and also our marine precinct people come and repair boats and sell us boats. So we've got huge links there. It benefits us this side too. Pauanui Ratepayers Association invited to go. New chairperson there, Rob Brenton, and vice chairperson Paul Schroeder. They've got one of their main things is safety concerns re the loading trucks versus car road at the back of the 4 square top. They would like something done with that. And overall, they were really pleased with during the restoration planting activities that, they got a really good response. I'd also like to say thank you to staff, to Lorna and Bruce and Ross and Eileen, who provided that information to us when we've asked, so that we're going and being able to answer questions. Tairua resident ratepayers yesterday, their main thrust over the next few weeks is going to be around the safety concerns on the Pepe Bridge. They would like us to suggest that we supported them as community board, and they're progressing forward, and they're going to do a big thing around that. They've had papers back. We've had a letter back from Wayne Oldfield giving us 2.1 and 2.4 for that bridge to be probably replaced, and that's important. And we just had today that all the roading trucking firms are coming in supporting too. They want something done. It's another thing that's been going on for about 25 years with nothing done.
Since 1926.
Yeah. And important. Yeah. But government, current government, have got it in hand, and also the NZTA, they're looking at it differently too, with a clear date that we can all keep asking for it to be done by. And this time they've got Nicole Rosie, who is the ex-WorkSafe CEO, has come from England. She's now head of NZTA, and she'll be pushing that safety message through because she knows what the Parataia principle is, which is half of us don't.
We had a young lady at the meeting the other day, who was naturally something. Yeah. She made the mistake of mentioning that she worked for NZTA.
Exactly.
Well, that sort of opened up a can of worms.
Yeah.
And she was actually very good. She made inquiries, and she's going to let us know exactly what the program is.
And that Ratepayers Association have asked under the Official Information Act for reports that quite clearly show that it's not up to safety standard. On webinar there, I attended Local Government New Zealand, Three Waters, inside out and back to front, and that's coming whether we like it or not. And council have signed with it, and they were given a little bucket of money, about 4 million, I think, to do some of the water stuff. And the local government ran another webinar last week with planning. And that's all relevant to us because there's lots of changes happening. Unfortunately, we've got central government pushing us down, pushing council down, and then us poor community poor people down, and then us poor ratepayers. And you know, the ratepayers are the ones that are carrying the bill for all of this at the end of the day. And we are pushing up, yeah. But basically that's it. I've been nominated to create a Coromandel, and I've looked at the conflict of interest of it because that was important. I was nominated by New Zealand Culture and Heritage, New Zealand Arts Council to represent on Creative Coromandel, and then I was asked to represent Tairua Pauanui, which has a gap. So the creative aspect, and we've got huge creativity here in South Ward, lots of people that are arts, writing, you know, drawing, all sorts of things in their creative arts. And it's one of the draw cards for tourism and one of the draw cards for economy. And so, you know, I think it's important. The two TCD reps on this organisation are Terry Walker and Martin Rodley. And lots of phones and people contacting me. And those are all the issues that they keep contacting me about. The one-way bridges, Pepe toilet, when does construction happen next? And they need definite completion. Who cut the Pukakawa trees at the back of the Tairua Hall? So I referred them to being Eileen or Lou. You were away, Laurie. Skate park, several different groups and views. I've counted about 3. And we need to go forward to sort, not another 30 years plus. Solid waste plastics, which ones in the bin, and the cost of the plastic bags, they've gone up in price, and most of our ratepayers don't like the cost of the plastic bags. $3.90 for 100 plastics, ridiculous. And when is Ocean Beach stormwater going to be done? So those are what people ring up about. We thought we'd hide.
Yeah. Okay, well, mine's very short. As you've all heard, I've been away. It was lovely. Should have stayed away.
Yeah, we will go. Yeah, those two.
I will say I was hiding in a place way at the top of the Pelora Sound. Cell phone coverage was very minimal. I had one bar, and lo and behold, the mayor sent me a text. Anyway, the trees, yeah, are not for Hutakawas, and I'm very pleased to see them knocked over, and so are the Hall Committee. Right. They've been advocating that for a while. I had sent Lou my thank you on behalf of myself and the Hall Committee.
Good. Yeah,
so they're down. They've done a great job. They've cleaned up. It's very tidy.
Yeah. And give you a good view up the top of the hill.
An update on the men's set. I did report previously that we'd found a home for them. Unfortunately, we had not found a home for them. They were going to move into the old St John's rooms, but the rugby club, who were negotiating with the new Paradise gym over there beneath the fishing club on the marina, they could not reach a satisfactory agreement with the cost, so they're going back into the St John's rooms as a gym facility for the rugby club. So we're still looking for a home for the St John, for the men's shed.
Yeah. You don't desperately want one.
I have fireworks pencil in here, but I see that the information centres are up and running with donations for the fireworks, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Literally, that's pretty much me.
One more.
Yes. Nicole.
He's leaving us.
Oh, I
Yes.
did, I was going to mention that later on, after, when we ring the final bell, but if this is.
Very disappointed.
If this is the opportune moment, then,
Run away for money.
is it money?
No, it's not.
Sorry. No, we are saying farewell to Nicole. Our thank you for your assistance, and it is sad to see you go. But I wish you all the well. All the well, and we'll obviously spot you from time to time in the castle.
Definitely.
You'll be hiding out the back.
Might even be presenting reports to you at some
You
stage.
will.
I'd like a thanks put into the minutes, through the chair, thank you all for your
Thanks,
important
Jerry.
efforts and assistance.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much, everybody.
Good luck.
I'm sure we're all in total agreement on that. So are we're going to break for lunch?
Back to that.
Lunch it is.
Just have to break it in another second.